Alright, so this is the lfbros diesel parking heater, the high altitude version. Over here are some of the accessories. You've got the wiring harness, the exhaust pipe, the intake filter, the hot air duct, and the vent cover. On this side are the install tools, like the hole saw and drill bits. This is the exhaust muffler that goes under the vehicle. Here's the mounting base plate. This is the display unit. This model has Bluetooth, so you can control it straight from your phone. It also comes with a remote, and over here is the fuel pump with the fuel filter, plus the fuel pickup tube. So for this vehicle, the install spot is right here under the front passenger seat. Yeah, it's basically going to sit in this area, more or less, right around here. The unit comes with a positioning template for the install. So if you're new to this, you can just use that template to line everything up and mark where to drill. The holes are already drilled right here in this spot. This is where the wiring goes through. Over here is the air intake, and over here is the exhaust. The fuel line it comes with is all one piece, so we need to cut it. You just trim it to match the length you need for your vehicle's fuel in and out, then you hook up a rubber hose. Same thing with that. If it's too long, you can cut it down and use it to connect to the heater on the side. You just slide it in right here, then put this clamp on here and tighten it down. Then the clear fuel line goes on here too. Add another clamp, push it all the way on. Once both clamps are snug, you're good. Open up the wiring harness first and run the wires through before you mount anything. Otherwise, you'll forget and have to take it all back apart. These are the battery leads. Red is positive, black is negative. This one plugs into the heater. The white one goes to the display. And this shaped plug is for the fuel pump. You'll need to drop this wire down under the vehicle. All the other wires stay inside. From underneath, it looks like this. I've already tightened the positioning bolts. The fuel line and the air intake are hooked up now, so next up is connecting the exhaust. The exhaust pipe mounts right here. This factory wiring harness was using this hole, so you need to pull it out and move it over to the side. Otherwise, it's too close to the exhaust and it'll get cooked. Then the intake pipe goes over here. There's already a factory hole you can use, which works out perfectly. Just zip tie it to the nearby wiring harness. Make sure the intake and exhaust are pointing in opposite directions. They can't face the same way, or you risk pulling exhaust back in. This one's pointing toward the rear. That pretty much wraps up the plumbing on the side. Now we're just running the fuel line and the wiring harness along the factory routing over to the fuel tank. The fuel tank goes here, the fuel pump mounts right here. Run the wires along the fuel tank, then plug in the power cable for the fuel pump. All the wiring is zip-tied already. The fuel pump needs to be mounted at a slight angle, tilted a bit in the direction it pulls fuel from the tank. Then hook it up on this side. For the fuel tank, you install a fuel pickup through the fuel line here. Next, we take off the fuel line. Once you loosen the screws, this line can come right off. Wipe off the fuel on the surface. When you pull out the pickup tube, first line it up on top to get a rough idea of the position. Then bend it a bit, kind of to this angle. and drill the hole like this, feeding it through from this side. Wipe out all the debris inside. Then feed it through like this. Put the gasket back on, then tighten the nut. The angle of the pickup tube going into the tank needs to be adjusted by hand before you reinstall it into the tank. Now everything's hooked up, just straighten out the fuel line and secure it. If your fuel line is pretty long, you'll need to pump the primer 4 or 5 times to get fuel all the way through. If you don't want to wait that long, you can manually pull the fuel up first. That way, when you pump it again, it usually works on the first try. Next, I'll mount the heater's display. This is the connector for the control screen wiring. Now the screen's plugged in. This harness has a fuse. Red goes to the battery positive, black goes to negative. This rig doesn't have the battery installed yet, so I can't show that part. Then there's this big connector on the unit, just plug it straight in. Pull these 2 red tabs out. Slide the plug in, then push the red tabs back in to lock it. And that's it, all connected. To get into fuel priming mode on this unit, you press and hold these 2 buttons at the same time while it's powered off. Once the screen shows fuel priming mode, it'll start pumping fuel, and that pretty much finishes the install.